Our next presenter this afternoon is Rick Schumacher with Pressure BioSciences.
Thank you. And thanks everybody for coming. So we're a publicly traded company, so of course we have to remind everybody of that and ask you to do your homework before you think about investing in any public company, including ours. Now, I presented last year. I see some familiar faces here, especially in the back. I can tell you that it was exciting last year. Boy, have we made some headway over the last year. We have made some incredible headway. So if you thought it was exciting last year, hold on to, you need a seatbelt because it's gotten very exciting right now. And next year when we present, I think it's going to be quite a different company. So all I want to do here is let you know, you can go to the website and get a lot of information. I'm a serial entrepreneur. This is my fourth publicly traded company. My first three were worth $1 billion in market cap. People made a lot of money in the first three. This fourth one has been the most difficult thing I've done in my life. But it's a joy working there because we are onto something very big. And I'm hoping that next year I can say it's the biggest thing I've ever done in my life. And I think you'll see why as we go through some of what we're going to talk about today. I'm not going to talk that much about the team. You can go, they only gave me 2 hours, so I can only use the 2 hours. But I will tell you, go to the website and you can learn a lot about the team. One team member right here is Jeff Peterson. He's our chairman and co-conspirator. We work together all the time, and he's a brilliant guy and a hardworking guy. So we're going to talk about what we do for a living. Everything we do relates to using high pressure. Pressure is an amazing force of nature. Pressure moves at the speed of sound. It's basically instantaneous. Unlike the things as a scientist I've used in the past, which I've used heat and cold and temperature and pH and chemicals. Once you change something using temperature or chemicals, you have to get the temperature back to where you started. You have to get the chemicals out generally. When you use pressure, you turn pressure on and off. It goes on immediately, and then you take it off. It goes back to what we're under now, about 14.7 pounds per square inch. We've learned how to safely use pressure over the last 15 years. We're probably the best in the world at learning how to use pressure and using it for the advantages that we have in the area of developing products that can make scientists, allow them to do things better, faster, and probably find things that they could not find before, because pressure has that ability. Our pressure, we use everything from 100 psi up to right now 90,000 psi. Our main instruments use 45,000 psi. Sounds scary, but it isn't. It's all hydrostatic pressure. We compress water. Water doesn't compress very much. It only goes down 1 or 2% when you're at the bottom of the Marianas Trench, and you've got 7 miles of ocean. If you're at the bottom on you, it's at 17,000 psi. So when we compress water in a chamber, in an instrument, and something goes wrong, it's not going to blow up. We're not compressing air, we're compressing water. It just fizzes out of a back port. But we put things in the water that's compressed, and it feels the pressure that the water has. So if we want to go dial in a computer, if we want to go to 17,000 pounds per square inch, which will kill an HIV virus, completely inactivate an HIV virus, but it'll take 16 hours overnight. You leave it in that pressure for 16 hours, it'll inactivate it. You can work with it safely. But our patents, of which we have 37 patents. Our patents in pressure relate to hydrostatic pressure and relate to turning pressure on and off most of the time. So it's called pressure cycling. We turn pressure on and off, and we've received a number of patents in that area. We have 3 different areas that of the company. The original area, pressure cycling technology, we have 400 instruments that are in the top protein labs around the world. They're in the FBI, the FDA, the CDC, the Paul Ehrlich Institute, the Karolinska Institute, many of the universities. We're not going to talk much about that. Again, go to the website. The second is Barofold technology, extremely interesting technology where we can use pressure to unfold and refold proteins and fix problems with proteins, particularly protein drugs. We work with several multi-billion-dollar companies developing protein drugs, and they run into problems in the lab developing that protein drug, a recombinant protein drug, and we've been able to see whether or not pressure can fix it, because if they can't, they either have to spend weeks and weeks and weeks and doing very tedious things to try to save that protein, or they have to throw it away, and it might be a $5 million lot of material. So we have an enormous future in the area of barrel fold or pressure folding. We're not going to talk more about that. We're going to talk about ultra shear technology, or UST. It's just an amazing technology that we've developed over the last 5 years, and we're very excited about what it can do. Just to show that we're real, here are some of the customers that we have for our first two businesses. You know, these are customers all over the world, and we have about 400 of them, a who's who list in the area of protein. But again, what we're going to talk about now is a technology that can dwarf anything we've ever done, a technology that is 100 or 500 times powerful in its commercialization than what we've been doing up to now. So what we did a year ago, 11 months ago, actually to be exact, we pivoted the company to put 90% or more of our effort into ultra shear technology. So we took it away from barrel fold, we took it away from pressure cycling. We're still working with our customers, but 90% of our effort is in ultra shear technology. To understand ultra shear, the first thing we have to do is just understand emulsions. Remember, emulsions are when we put two things together that don't belong together, like oil and water. If you think about the biggest emulsion you can think of that you can see it happening in front of your eyes, is think about your raspberry vinaigrette before you put it on your salad dressing, before you put it on your salad. You sit there for 30 seconds, you can see it separate out into your vinegar, your oil, your water, your seasonings can all separate right out. Then you shake it like crazy before you put it on your salad dressing. Theoretically, we put that through our instrument, and it becomes one solution and stays as one solution, so you won't be shaking anymore. The interesting thing is, let's take that a step further and think about the pharmaceuticals. Probably everybody in the room has had a pharmaceutical that we've been asked to take, and on the box it says, shake well before using. It's an emulsion. It's a mixture of oil and water, and if you don't shake it well, you might get only the oil or only the water part. So they say shake well before using. We're going to get rid of that slogan. It's not needed when you use ultra shear technology. You don't need to shake well because it is completely mixed. It's homogeneous. So emulsions, there's thousands of products that we, in our everyday pharmaceuticals, wellness products, vitamins, agrochemicals, food and beverage that are emulsions. Milk is an emulsion, yogurt, mayonnaise are all emulsions, and if you let them sit long enough, they'll start to separate out. That is a problem when you have a pharmaceutical. That is a problem when you have a nutraceutical, because you're not getting everything that you should be getting from taking that pharmaceutical, nutraceutical, or using that cosmeceutical. So the problem is that they separate out, they don't mix well. The solution is something called nano emulsions. Now, a lot of people are talking about nano. A lot of people are talking about nano emulsions. I can tell you that we as a company probably have the best nano emulsions available in the world today through our technology, ultra shear technology. And I'm not saying it because I'm a marketing guy saying I got to tell everybody it's the best. We have proof, and we'll talk a little bit about that proof coming up. So nano emulsions are widely recognized. If you're going to mix oil and water, and let's say that oil contains vitamin D3 or contains CBD or THC, it contains curcumin, or it contains retinol and anti-aging serum, you're not going to get very much of that active ingredient out when you put it on your skin or you ingest that, because we're water-based and our bodies are going to excrete out the oil as quickly as possible. And the literature is just boundless. It's just tons and tons of literature that says when you ingest something, a pharmaceutical, a nutraceutical, that is an emulsion, unless it's a nano emulsion, you're only going to get 4, 5, 6 to 10%, maybe 15% of the active ingredient out. So it's like taking Excedrin, which is not an emulsion, taking Excedrin and you take 250 milligrams and you're getting 25 milligrams. Your headache would never go away. I know mine would never go away. So emulsions are important. They're in our everyday life, and they're in our pharmaceuticals and our nutraceuticals. And if you have a nano emulsion, that means the size of the oil has been reduced down to nano. We've all heard nano, very, very, very small. In this area, we're talking about smaller than a bacterium, smaller than a bacterium. It's smaller than a bacterium. That's a real nano emulsion. When you take the oil, that drop of oil, and you reduce it so that one drop of oil turns into 10 million droplets of oil, and every one of those droplets is smaller than the size of a bacterium. That's what our machine does, and we're going to talk about why that's so effective. Our Ultra Shear technology platform is extremely effective. It shears. It's called Ultra Shear. We use a combination of very high pressure, because we're experts in high pressure. We go to 45,000 PSI, 2.5 times the pressure at the bottom of the Marianas Trench, and we mix it with shearing forces. And what we do is we shear the oil, we pull the oil, we strip the oil, and we break that oil from an oil drop into millions, tens of millions of tiny little nano oil droplets. What does that mean? It means that when there's an active ingredient in the oil, let's say it's vitamin D3, let's say it's CBD, or it's curcumin, it's in the oil, we have proven over and over again we do not adversely affect what's inside the oil. What we do is we take that oil drop with that millions of molecules of that active ingredient, and we shear that oil drop, and by shearing it, we turn it into millions of tiny nano-sized droplets, and the vitamin D3, the curcumin, the active ingredient in the oil gets spread out among all of these millions and tens of millions of tiny little oil droplets. And it's been proven over and over and over again for decades that when you have that much surface area, your body is able to much more accept and pull out the active ingredient. So the bioavailability of the active ingredient in a drop of oil is usually very small. Very little gets out and gets into your biology, into your system. But the bioavailability goes up enormously when you break the oil down into tiny little nano-sized oil droplets. And that's what we do. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on the science. I do want to show a little bit of science, but I want to get to the last couple of slides because exciting things have happened in 2023. And we think the investors who've been supporting us throughout 2023, they better have a nice hand for high fives, because we're believing that we're on the cusp of really hitting it big, and you'll know why in just a minute. So everywhere you look, pharmaceuticals, cosmetics, nutraceuticals, these are all full of nanoemulsions, or emulsions, I should say, but most of them are not nanoemulsions. It's just globs of oil mixed with water. You know what happens when you make your waffles or your pancakes on Sunday morning? You put it in there, you use a beater, it breaks it up into tiny little balls of oil, but it just sits there and it's kind of opaque and it sits there. That's what happens when you have CBD in the oil. That's what happens when you have THC or you have curcumin in the oil. We take it so the oil disappears in water, because a true nano is so small, it actually disappears in water, becomes clear. So we're not going to go through the data here. All this is showing is that here's prednisone. I've used, probably everybody in the room has had prednisone. Prednisone's a steroid. It's in oil. And it has on the side, I have it, shake well before using. Well, when you break the oil down to nanoparticles, it becomes very clear and extremely bioavailable. You get more out of it. The pharmaceutical company can give you less to get the same, or give you more to give you even a better result in some cases. So retinol is in almost every anti-aging cream. You're going to see a slide coming up from Dr. Adrienne Deneuve. She's the queen of QVC for anti-aging. She's been 20 years on QVC. She sold $500 million, and a lot of it is anti-aging, and you'll see what she thinks of what we did when we took her retinol that's in all of our anti-aging, and it's not nano, it's regular retinol that most people or everyone uses in their anti-aging, and we took the oil and we turned it down into a nano emulsion, and you'll see her reaction. I have a slide or two about that. Neem oil in the agriculture field. Astaxanthin is the most powerful antioxidant on the face of the earth. It's 6,000 times more powerful than vitamin C. It comes out of algae. It comes out of krill. And it's a red tint, you can see it, and you can see on the top slide all those oil drops. And after we nanoemulsify it, the oil goes away. The oil basically goes into the water and disappears. So we have this with curcumin, we have it with astaxanthin. Here's curcumin. These are all supplements that people take to try to get healthier. But how much healthier do you get if your urine or your poop is containing 90% of what you're taking? Very expensive poop and pee that we have, because it's not getting into the system. It will get into the system if the oil is nano-emulsified first using ultra shear technology. This is CBD, and to go to CBD a little bit further, On the left, you can see that opaque. Now, that's oil. You can imagine if you take oil and you throw it into water and you mix it really hard, it's going to turn opaque. It's going to look like you see on the left. The one on the right has been nano-emulsified using our ultra-shear technology. The one on the right is the same material as the one on the left. It's the same material. The one on the left is what almost everybody in the cannabis field uses now. They break up the oil, they use beaters and other things, or they use sonicators to break it up, but they don't get to a true nano level because it becomes clear if you get to it. It's a telltale sign. A true nano emulsion is clear. It might have a tint of the color, but it's going to see through it. You can see the one on the right. That's the same material that we put through our system, took about 15 minutes, and we nano-emulsified. It's got the same amount of oil as the one on the left, but now you can see through it. Now we know it's a true nano-emulsion. So if you took the CBD from the one on the left, you'd probably get 10%, if lucky, of the CBD in your system before you excrete the oil. If you take the CBD on the right, you're probably going to get 60, 70, 80% of the CBD coming out before you excrete the oil. Oh, and by the way, over here on the right, we have 700 days, over 700 days of stability. Nano-emulsions, by their very nature, become more stable. Manufacturers want stability. They become more stable, they become essentially water-soluble, and they become far more bioavailable. And we're the experts in the world at making nanoemulsions. Here you can see a time course basically on the left. You can see oil and water. The oil floats to the top in water. We put this through our system. Might take 5, 6, 7 minutes every time to go through the system. And when you're done, you can see the same material is down to 46 nanometers. So it's half the size of a normal bacterium. And you can see right through it. So that's a true nanoemulsion. What that means, it's going to be more stable, and you're going to take more out of it when you ingest it in your body. If you ever are told by someone, I have a nanoemulsion, because 90% plus of what's out there, people say, oh, my CBD, my THC is nano. Just spray it or drop it in water, and you'll see it'll probably happen to like the one on the top. It ends up being very opaque because the oil just comes out of solution and it turns it into an opaque solution. On the bottom is when we spray our nano. You see a little bit of discoloration there, but it's basically going in the solution, which means it's getting into the body very quickly and very effectively. We've done a lot of things. We've done pharmaceuticals, agrochemicals, nutraceuticals, cosmeceuticals. We've nano-emulsified. We do not affect whatever's in the oil. There's 100 or 200 supplements that we can do, and maybe next year we'll have 50 more up there. We do not adversely affect what's in the oil. We break the oil down so we spread whatever's in the oil to 1 million or 10 million different oil droplets. Now we get to some interesting things. So we had a pivot in our business strategy this year, and we said, as I said, we're going to put 90% of our effort into ultra-shear technology. What's the low-hanging fruit? We think the low-hanging fruit is in cannabis, particularly in CBD. We can ship it across state lines, and it's got an enormously known problem, and we fix it. That problem is that when you take the CBD, you're getting very little of it in your bloodstream, and we are proving that if you nano-emulsify it first. I wish I had the data, but ever since we were here last year, we didn't know at the time, but we took one of the universities with one of the top cannabis people in the world, and we asked them to do a bioavailability study. And they did this in animals. And we sent them our nano-emulsified CBD, and they've done multiple bioavailability studies for multiple companies all over the country, all over the world over the last few years. And this is a recognized cannabis expert who runs the lab. The gentleman suggested we're going to take blood from the rats that are going to be ingesting. They're going to put the nanoemulsion in the mouth, and they're going to see how long it takes to get into the bloodstream. And he said we're going to start at 30 minutes, taking blood out to see, because normally it's 30 minutes plus. And we asked him to be kind to us and start at 5 minutes. And he laughed and said, gentlemen, don't waste your money. And we said, let us waste our money. He laughed and said, okay, I'll start at 5 minutes. And when he called us 2.5 months later to say he has some data, he said, first of all, I need to apologize. Even older guys like me can learn new tricks. We started at 5 minutes. We wanted to start at 30. And in 5 minutes, your CBD was already in the bloodstream of the rat. And so we knew we had something. And he said, I have done multiple studies. I have done for everybody. FDA approved CBD, people's own CBD. I've done it all. I have my own. And you're 2 to 4 times better than anything I've ever seen, and 10 to 15 times better than the vast majority of what I see. I've never seen CBD get into the bloodstream this quickly. It was already in 5 minutes. We could have started maybe drawing the blood at 2 minutes and found the CBD, because we bypass the necessity of having it get into the gut and have the gut do what we do. The gut will emulsify and nano-emulsify and break it down and get it out into the bloodstream. So we do that. So when you put it in the mouth, like a tincture or spray in the mouth, it immediately gets into the bloodstream, and we've proven it with that one study, which will be published in a peer-reviewed journal sometime in the coming weeks. We're hoping that before Memorial Day, we will have this study, and you'll know who it is, and you'll recognize the university and the people, and you'll understand that now we have a peer-reviewed journal publishing, saying that basically we have the best nanoemulsion in the world that this person has ever seen, and this person has seen probably more than everybody else combined. So we have those data. We also have data that Jeff Peterson, our chairman, is doing in California. He contracted with a site that does THC. I woke up one morning and said, okay, we don't have the published CBD data. CBD can be used as a surrogate for THC. It's basically the same molecule, slightly different configuration, but it's coming out of the cannabis plant. So it's not going to come out the oil any differently, whether it's CBD or THC. So I woke up one morning with this epiphany and said, I got it. Why don't we find someone to nano-emulsify THC and then have volunteers take it and see whether or not it gets into the blood faster? Because there you know if it gets into the blood or the brain faster, because they feel the effects faster. So we did this, and Jeff found a group, and we had a portable machine. We brought the machine in. We taught them. It took about 2 weeks to teach them how to nano-emulsify using this. They did it on their own. They came up with some very, very good-looking material. They had about 15 volunteers, and they took a small vial with a spray, and they took the volunteers, and some of them were chronic users that used many, many milligrams and to get high or to have a feeling. Others were off and on users, and they would take 10 milligrams, 5, 15 milligrams. And the bottom line is we put out a press release on January 19th, and what happened is in this cohort, in this group, in this market survey, the general was between 1 and 10 minutes to feel the effects of THC. Now, this isn't an edible. When you're in an edible, without a doubt, you're talking 30 to 60 minutes to feel the edible, start feeling the effects. It may be 90 minutes to get to the high. These people in this study, in 3 to 5 minutes, were feeling, the average is 3 to 5 minutes to feel the effects of the THC, and then to get a high in about 15 minutes. So we're redoing the study now with more than the 15, and we'll have those results maybe as early as next week. So we're very excited. We're very excited about that study. So it isn't a scientific study, but sometimes it's even better. It's a real study with real users of THC who have taken the product and say, it takes me, they fill out a form. Jeff has all of this to back it up. And they fill out a form and they say, yeah, it takes me knowing 40 minutes when I take some kind of a non-alcoholic tincture or a spray or a THC ravioli. It takes 45 minutes, an hour to start feeling the effects. Some people take gummies and they take a second or third. Next thing you know, they're blasted for quite some time because it takes so long to have the effect. If you take THC because you want to reduce your anxiety, because you're nervous about speaking in front of people like me, or you're trying to sleep, something like that, you can't time it. No, I'm going to take this now, and in 45, 50 minutes from now, I'm going to feel relaxed. So I was told a year ago, find a way to reduce the window almost down, get as close as you can. Even 15 minutes would be good, Rick. Get as close as you can to the instantaneous feeling you get when you vape or smoke it, which people don't want to do. We know what happens to our lungs with smoking and vaping. And we've now reduced the window. We were told, try to get it to 15 minutes. We got it under 10 minutes. We generally are 1 to 10 with an average about 3 to 5 minutes. So we're onto something very, very big. So with the academic data that will be published soon, showing CBD in the blood within minutes, which normally, and compared to everything else, which generally takes 30 minutes to an hour, and then the THC first and second study, we know that our nanoemulsification is making the oil that has the active ingredient in it. We're making it so it's far more available for the body. You're getting more in, so the pharmaceutical company can use less to give you the same effect on whatever it is, or they can use more to give you a better effect. So we're very excited about that. So moving on, here's Dr. Dinesh. Dr. Dinesh asked us last year to try to 6 months ago, to nanomulsify retinol. I see the sign. It says I got 30 minutes left. We did. She sent us the retinol. We nanomulsified it. I sent it to her. I asked my chief science officer, Alex. I said, Alex, I'm calling Dr. Dinesh. Anything? Just see if she got the sample of the nano that we worked on for the last month to get it right. And I said, okay. So I called her and I said, Adrian, by the way, did you get the sample from Alex? She said, oh my gosh, Rick, oh my gosh. I have never in my life ever seen retinol so effective. It's off the scale. This is going to be a whole new generation. So we expect, we're making this product for Dr. Dinesh. She sells on QVC and other places. We expect and hope that before the end of this year, Dr. Adrian Dinesh and Dr. Dinesh Skin Science will be selling a new next generation skin care, not skin care, but anti-aging skin care on QVC using our nanoemulsification process. And she says it's not just a better one, it's a whole new generation. And so the other thing is I did a webinar with her and they asked, Dr. Dinesh, you've been in business for 25 years, you've done tremendous, you've helped so many, particularly women. Is there any product that you don't have that you'd like to have? She said, yeah, hair restoration. You can't get the minoxidil to the dormant roots because it doesn't get through the scalp very well. And it's one thing for a man to have baldness, but it's more devastating for a woman. So she said, for me, I want to be able to come up with a hair restoration. And using Pressure Bio's Ultra Shear, I believe we will. So we're going to start working on a hair restoration now that we're pretty far along on the anti-aging. So the last slide is on some news. So we'll start at the bottom, January 19th. This is where we talked about the nano THC and the effects, I see that, and the effects that people are feeling in just literally 3 to 5 minutes and not 30 to 60 minutes. The second one is that we're working with Isaiah Thomas and One World Pharma. He's an NBA all-star and Hall of Famer, and they're developing a sports performance and recovery drink with CBD, and they called us about us being involved. We received a contract, so we did our first big run for sale, which we just did last week. We'll be shipping it, we believe, next week. It's a $1.5 million contract, but it starts with a 500 vial run, about a $20,000 run. We did the run and we'll be shipping it out next week. And finally, our product will be available on a website because this gentleman has a website all over the country. We signed a deal with Nutrilife. You can see that. We expanded. We cannot grow the way we want to grow in our existing space. We're kind of in an office space. We signed a deal and announced it just a week ago with a fantastic engineering company, been around 100 years. They're giving us a space we need to grow. We're going to do the additional, just running the additional THC study. And as I said, the academic publication should be out soon. And most importantly, and so exciting to us, is that we made a strategic decision as a board. And last Friday we announced, and today we doubled down on it, that we're going to take 5 licenses because we do not plan on selling or leasing the instrument for about 1.5 to 2 years. Right now, we're offering a fee for service. Send us your material, your astaxanthin or your CBD. We'll nanoemulsify. We'll send it back to you, and then you have it, or like Dr. Dinesh, your anti-aging serum. But we're going to sell 5 licenses to 5 states. We haven't picked the states. We've already had 5 people call. I had a 6th one this afternoon. So we have 6 people that have called and said, I'm interested in the license. It's in the state of blank. It could be in the state of Indiana or Illinois or Oklahoma. It could be anywhere. They choose the state. They pay us an upfront fee. and they pay us to build the custom designed instrument. We will have that instrument in their lab by the end of December. They will have an exclusive for the next 3 years. They'll be the only game in town in that state that will be able to nano-emulsify their THC using ultra-shear technology. That is a huge jump that they get. So we're very excited about this, and in just 4 business days, we have 6 people that have called, and this is a non-dilutional way to raise substantial money. We said in the press release today, we think we could raise $5 million plus by selling these licenses. And all of that is going to go into, and we're only selling 5 states. We still got 45. But all of that's going to be going into things that have a market that is multiples of the huge market THC is, like immune boosters and sleep and things like that. So I appreciate your time, guys. We're very excited about what's going on. When the 2 big guys come in a room, I know I'm done.